Hello, and welcome to the Barrel House. Yes, welcome back to the Barrel House. I am your host, Joe Kane, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A121, the newest batch. We're going to touch base on the state of the live streams, and we're going to get a little bit into the pros and cons of higher proof whiskeys. But first, I got a big ass announcement. I got a real big announcement just for you. Your support so far has been genuinely amazing. Across the board, whether it's the subs, the rates, reviews, social media follows and shares, the direct feedback, the emails, getting at me on Discord, showing up on the live streams and interacting, all of it's been amazing. It's been way more than I ever expected this soon. It's been fantastic. But should you be in a place to offer it comfortably, just like the man himself, Bernie Sanders, I am once again asking for your support. As you can probably guess, this is not a particularly inexpensive show to put together. I love doing it, and I intend on continuing to do this regardless of the fact that it's expensive to put together. I love doing it, and it's a genuine hobby of mine anyway. However, should you find yourself feeling particularly generous, or should you feel you want to, sponsor an episode or whatever, I am officially, as of the release of this episode, launching a Patreon for the show. I hope that the perks are pretty appealing. I think I would find them appealing if I was a listener to the show. And they seem pretty fair as the producer of the show to me. So I hope you guys like that. There's no better way for you to help support, grow, nurture the show than to support me with the value for value model provided over at patreon.com/barrelhouse. There's a direct link available also on the site, the barrelhousepodcast.com. If you can, there's a bunch of tiers. I put a couple of crazy ones on there. Don't feel the need. Don't feel the need to sign up for those. But there's a couple of relatively cheap tiers there too, and if you can, I would be really appreciative. It'd mean a real lot to me if you could get into that. With that, some housekeeping. Live streams, I mentioned them. They're going great. We officially had the first Barrel House Live episode 1 last week. I had some ups and downs. I'm trying to get to a format for that thing that's kind of consistent and fun. I think I've got a good format down. I had some hiccups genuinely with some tech and whatnot, but I think we've got that all sorted out. Barrel House Live episode 2 will be April 2nd, 8:30 p.m. That's a Friday. I can't wait to see you all there. Please, you can get that at barrelhouse.live. Or you can go to barrelhousepodcast.com and click the link that has the date and time for the next live stream on it, and it will bring you straight to the YouTube. I've also started putting the episodes audio only, maybe video eventually, directly on YouTube. So there should be 2 playlists, a live stream playlist and an episode playlist once I get that all organized. And I hope you guys like that as much as I do. With that, let's get into the pour. So I did the B520 last year, and I loved that whiskey. It was so good. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here. Big fan of this one too. I'm a big fan of this one too. On the nose, I get like a buttery cinnamon sugar toast right away. A lot of it. It's very rich. A ton of orange peel, like dominant orange peel. A little bit of red fruit. It's got like waxy chocolate, like grocery store chocolate, like Hershey's, or maybe even like a Tootsie Roll, like very waxy chocolate. Some warm vanilla, like vanilla scented oil in an oil warmer. You get that, like you can kind of smell that it's warm. And then just a ton of cherry, like a sugary cherry reduction sort of sauce kind of thing. It's great on the nose. On the palate, it's amazing. There's easily as much orange and cherry, maybe more. This almost tastes like somebody put orange bitters in it, just a little, almost. That waxy chocolate is super dominant, especially in that second wave and it kind of tastes like, around like Valentine's Day when you go to like Walgreens or the grocery store and they have those like sort of cheap chocolate covered fruits. They're like dried fruits with like lots of sugary syrup around them, put in like cheap chocolate. It kind of has that vibe going. I get lots of buttery caramel. That cinnamon sugar is back really strong. More cinnamon than sugar, but very strong. It's nowhere near as sweet as the nose would indicate. The nose would lead you to believe it's going to be like straight dessert, just all dessert all the time, but it's nowhere near that sweet. It's sweet, don't get me wrong, it's very sweet, but not desserty sweet. Not quite there. I think the B520 was sweeter. If my memory recalls correctly, I think the B520 was sweeter. Remember that B520 had that like slightly toasted marshmallow brown sugar thing going. This is really, really good. The alcohol is barely there. Like, there's a little heat on this, but this is 123.6 proof. And I should have said that at the top, but I didn't. Batch A121, 61.8% alcohol by volume, 123.6 proof, age 12 years. It's Elijah Craig, The alcohol is barely there at that proof. It's crazy. I had a friend try a little bit of it. I gave him a couple. I gave him like, what I remember what I gave him. I gave him a couple of bourbons to try that day that were like Old Granddad, Bottled and Bond, Henry McKenna, I think, a Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. I gave him a little bit of Spectrum, and he tried this, and I had him guess the proof, and he said, "Oh man, that's easy. That's an easy one to drink. It can't be more than like 45 maybe." It is a lot more than 45. It is a lot more than 45. There's definitely a dry oakiness, a little in the palate. I think it's more in the finish, but there's definitely a dry oakiness, which is, you'd expect more than there is from a 12-year-old cask strength bourbon, but it's still pretty present. Like I said, goes right into the finish, and that dryness really turns up in the finish. Dries everything out. Dries all the flavors out too. You get the alcohol in the barrel feels stronger here. The moisture just saps right out of your mouth, and you get like that waxy chocolate turns into like baking cocoa powder. The fruits are turned from like sugared candy fruits into like dried candied fruits, like when you get like the bag of dried fruits, if you know what I'm talking about. Like you get like the dried fruits and trail mix or something like that. It's the same fruits though. It's still orange and cherry and maybe a little bit of like red fruit apple kind of bit, but it's very dry. The barrel notes come through more here than they have anywhere else in the entire drink. It's slightly barrel spicy. You get a little bit of that black pepper barrel note at the end. The finish is long. I've been holding this glass up, taking a sip for a while now, and I'm still getting finish. But it's full and full-bodied and balanced. The whole thing is balanced. It's absolutely delicious. I think for the live stream coming up on the 2nd, I might do a barrel proof showdown between, I'm thinking Elijah Craig barrel proof, the Litchfield barrel proof that I did a couple episodes ago, and then maybe 1792 full proof and the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. Get a 4 barrel proofs out and give them a shot, see what's what. I got a feeling this is gonna kick ass. It's so good. I don't know what else to say overall. It's super good. It is harder to find now. It seems to be harder to find now than it used to be. When I bought the B520, the liquor stores had like 8-10 bottles of them. They were all over. This one, I've not seen more than one bottle at one place. I bought 2 bottles, but I had to find them at 2 different places, and they're the only 2 bottles I've seen. So I don't know if it's just early or if they're harder to find. But that being said, with as good as this is, if you find it, definitely buy it. If the proof is too high for you, this is great even with some ice or water in it. It holds up to everything. It's rich, it's oily, got this great mouthfeel. It's hard to beat. I've noticed that for me here anyway in Connecticut, the price seems to have gone up too. which is probably more on the stores than it is on the liquor. But where I could get B520 for about $60, $60-$70, this seems to be $80-$90 depending on where you go. So keep that in mind. I still think $80-$90 well worth it for this. And then so we talked about the proof there, right? The same friend that was over, my buddy Josh, said, well, what's the point of high proof? It's not as easy to drink as lower proof. Shouldn't you be shooting for easy to drink? So I've got answers for Josh and for all of you who are wondering. There's a lot of flexibility in high proof. First, if you like it neat, you like it high proof, you get a bunch of complexities, depth, richness that you don't get out of lower proof whiskeys. You get some density out of lower proof. You can get some density out of really good lower proof whiskeys, but you get a lot more density out of higher proof whiskeys. As you acclimate to whiskey, the challenge, the I don't want to say abrasiveness, but the fullness, the full body, the heat, the whole experience around that barrel proof whiskey is considerably more enjoyable and more of an experience altogether. It's an experience you can think and feel and intellectualize your way through instead of just drinking. The other thing is it gives you flexibility, like you can throw an ice cube in it. If I throw an ice cube into a pour of Buffalo Trace or something even lower proof, it disappears. The whole whiskey disappears, right? It just turns into watery, like whiskey effervescence. It's not good. I mean, some people may like it that way, and if you like it that way, more power to you. But if you get a barrel proof whiskey, throw an ice cube in there, cube starts to melt, you give it a little time, you enjoy it, you sip it over time. I got a half an hour or so before it even gets down to, or maybe longer, before it even gets down to the proof that Buffalo Trace starts at. So you get a lot more time, you get more experience with it. Same thing, you can add water. You can buy one bottle of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof at 60+%, and this is 61.8%, is one of the lowest alcohol proofs that Elijah Craig Barrel Proof has been. I think it's only been lower than that once or twice. But you can buy a bottle of this at 61% and water your drinks down to 40% and get, 25 or 30% more whiskey out of the one bottle that you purchased. It's a great deal also. So I think overall it just makes sense if you're into whiskey. I think barrel proof's a good way to go. It's not for everybody, for sure. Not everybody has the want, desire, or palate for it, but I am a big fan if you haven't been able to tell. That's most of what I got, right? If you have any more questions on proof or comments, whatever, or if you want any suggestions of easier to find bottles in this vein, let me know. I'm probably going to be bouncing back into Scotch for the next couple episodes. I think I might have an Irish in there too. Looking at you, Blue Spot. But we'll see how that all plays out scheduling wise. So with that being said, don't forget to check out the other show I do, The Film Appraisers. You can get that at earglumedia.com/TFA. Send your questions to me for this show at barrelhousepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit me up on the Discord at earglumedia.com/Discord. You can rate the show on iTunes. It goes a long way. You can get your social media links and links to everything else you could possibly want from me at barrelhousepodcast.com. That's got the YouTube and Earglue Media, the merch, all the places you can download the show, all that stuff. It's got a link to the Patreon also, which you can also find at patreon.com/barrelhouse. I appreciate your support. Those of you who can support me, I appreciate it a lot. It's going to go a real long way towards helping make the show and the live streams better and helping keep things going. It'll let me get into some of these whiskeys that you guys have asked for that I really just can't swing justifiably. So with that, I keep saying with that. I don't need to say with that every time I want to transition, right? That's like speaking of all the time, or what say you when you got a co-host looking at you, Mike Rondo. So instead of with that, I'm just going to say, until next time, Slàinte Mhaith. The Barrel House is written, produced, and hosted by Joe Kane, and it's a proud member of the Earglue Media Network. Views and opinions expressed on this show belong only to the mouth they came out of. And as always, please remember, drink responsibly. Slàinte Mhaith.